Are we on? Let's see if people can hear me. I hope people can hear me. Oh, cool. That's a YOU apostrophe RE. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm in hate mail reading mode. Okay, first of all, I have to explain that I cannot be particularly loud because my fiance is on the other side of a very thin wall trying to sleep. She's working tomorrow morning, so I apologize. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm trying to sit very close to the mic instead. With me this hour is, as you can see, Baud2Bits. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, sorry, I did try to have a cam, but I had a problem with my cam, so I had to go back to my avatar.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. That's happened to me too.
It is just as well, really, because I always said I wasn't going to play on my good looks and youthful complexion, so...
excuse me, Marai Ziller asks if my fiance is always trying to sleep. Is she a narcoleptic? No, she just works different hours than I do. It's that simple. She has a job that requires her to sometimes work nights and sometimes work early morning, even during the weekends, and it's a bit annoying. There you go. Now I'm not gonna devote this hour to that stuff. Before we begin, though, talking to Baud2Bits, I want to go over the rules regarding the Idiot of the Year thing that there was some talk about in the chat room. Here's the thing. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what it's about. Every year we make fun of someone. It's that simple. And you can scroll down and find a link to a poll where a couple of people have been nominated. Let's see who they were. Deepak Chopra, Mike Adams, Ken Ham, and the Pope are the ones who are officially nominated. So you can vote for those for free, or you can do the not so proper democracy thing and simply donate and say who you're voting for, because in that case, first of all, you can vote for anyone, and second, each dollar donated counts as one vote. So vote for Jordan. Okay? Good. Everyone, do that. Now, this hour, there's this other thing here where you donate $10 and Baud will read something suitably bad. You'll have to nominate something.
Anything you nominate, and I'll read it out for a $10 donation.
Yeah. That voice reading something extremely stupid. That would be awesome to hear. Okay. So, what were we going to talk about now? Right, I was going to talk to you a little bit about your videos on YouTube to begin with. You do videos about quite a wide variety of topics, it seems, but they're clearly related, most of them anyway. Religion, for one.
Yeah, I mean, I started off commenting on other people's videos, and you'd quite often get a response of, if you're so smart, why don't you make a video?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why not? And I started off simply. I don't have a formal education. I admire people who do. I very late in life took the vesves test, which shows that I have an issue with short-term memory, which is like, and it's, to say attention deficit is wrong. It's a great proportion of the population does, but it is an attention span issue, which probably affected me early on when I was at school. But I am intelligent, and but I prefer this moth approach that I have now, where I can flit from subject to subject. I don't have to sit down and dedicate myself through studies. So I pick up anything that interests me, anything that piques my interest, either watching other videos or reading. I'm a voracious reader, and I'm always thinking about how, could I make a video on that? Could I fit that into a video? Videos that are not just about the anti-creationists, which is low-hanging fruit, but more about trying to get people to think about how they think the way they think, why we believe, and try and get across the message that we're all deluded. From the moment we wake up in the morning, we spend the entire day deluding ourselves. We call it rationalization, but if we didn't do it, we'd go insane.
Right.
Although there's a whole other question about what is sanity, because I don't think there's any evolutionary prerogative or requisite to be sane. All we need to do.
Right. That's actually an interesting thing where what's his face? I believe it's Alvin Plantinga or someone like that. Some Christian philosopher anyway who argues that naturalism is something. Well, basically, evolution does not lead to naturalism. So, if evolution is true, we should not expect naturalism to work, or something to that effect. And I mean, there is a certain point to that. I disagree. Basically, I can see some truth to that, because it's not necessary to be able to do science in order to survive and pass on your genes, if I put it that way.
Yeah.
Can I just come in, guys? I
Sure.
want to inform everyone we've not only just gone past $2,000, we're up to roughly $2,060, which is amazing to say the least. Thank you to Marty and Baud. You're the guys that took us over that threshold. That means we've met the target we originally set out. We've beaten our best ever fundraising total, but I have to say this, doesn't mean you slack off for the donations now. Keep them coming, keep them going, more and more. And just
my work here is done.
Yes, yeah, you can go home. No, but thank you, and keep it going, please.
Yes.
This is incredible.
Thank you. This is awesome.
And
Dave, shut up. Don't you get any stupid ideas.
Just imagine if each of you in chat could get one person in here to view and donate $5.
And vote for Jordan.
And vote for Ken Ham. That would be awesome.
Well, Ken Ham is okay too. He's my second favorite here.
Yeah, I know. Him and Comfort are over here in the UK at the moment.
Oh,
doing
my condolences to the UK.
I know they're in the Midlands doing it, which I don't go there. I haven't got a passport, but they do it. They're doing a £58 a seat. Well, it's roughly $100 a seat. Telling everybody, how Jesus rode a dinosaur or some such thing. But.
And ate a banana.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something else I wanted to get to. You've had some dealings with Mr. Banana Man.
Mr. DMCA Comfort, yeah. Yes. He did it to me once.
Yeah, we've had the same problem. He didn't actually DMCA us. We did a live bonage of, I think it was Evolution versus God. Can't remember. We've pwned him twice. But anyway, the second one got not a DMCA but a takedown notice. So we did a little Streisand thing.
No, I mean I did it on the his what was it, The Way of the Master, when he did, was it Evolution, or was it? I think it was the Evolution versus God. All I used was their title clip, that picture of the Earth, which I'm sure they actually stole from somewhere else. I can't believe they created it. Anyway, I never went into it, but and that's all I used was a still, and they DMCA'd, which was great because I Streisanded it and probably got 4 times the number of views it would have done.
Yeah.
And I have since constantly taunted him, asking him to DMCA every video against him I put up because how wonderful it does for me. And he's doesn't talk to me anymore. So.
Yeah, you've also sort of Or am I thinking of someone else? You kind of dissected his financial records or something.
Yes, I did. His Ken Ham's. Yeah, because it's the bullshit. I mean, I tripped up accidentally on a, I think it's a 1991, it's a voice-only recording of his. It was during the first Gulf War, and the apocalyptic elements of that. It was about a half-hour recording. They're writ large in that recording. He's seeing that the war is, a sign of the end times sign, and that's fine in 1991. But we're now nearly 25 years on, and a lot of water's gone under the bridge. And even now, you can now and again capture this little bit. His is the old non-prophet thing, where I'm not a prophet, but there's all these signs of the end time. Nobody will know when it happens, but look, we're in the end times. You can see by the signs.
Yeah.
And so, you look at a company that's got, about $2 million in mortgages and $500,000 in their deposit bank account, and you think, well, you obviously don't think it's that imminent if you've got these long-term loans.
No, so do you think he actually believes the things he says, or do you think he, based on that, among other things, that he's just scamming people?
That's the most difficult thing, and I think that's what I'm trying to express. And that's what I was trying to investigate when I started this series on World War One, the Angel of Mons, which triggered me into that, is that, and when you start to think about warfare, then you can, for whatever reason, the USA, for instance, could declare war on Mexico. And people might go, well, no. But then in 1982, nobody thought England, the UK would declare war on Argentina. But we did. So you take a country like Argentina, who were, we were a big defence contractor for them. We had ships being built in our dockyards that were given to them. The RAF were training their pilots. We had this very strong relationship with them. But suddenly, overnight, they have to be turned into demons and the enemy. And everybody does this mental gymnastic very quickly. People did it. That, that your trade partners and friends of yesteryear. We had Ozzy Ardiles and such like playing at Tottenham, two of the favourite footballers, and suddenly they're vilified for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And so it's this ability for you to swallow that lie, and not only swallow it but flip it to become the truth. And I think that is what the Ken Hams and Ray Comforts have done. And because they've allowed a lie to become the truth, where do you go from there? How do you differentiate from then on? If you've accepted stuff that are demonstrably false as true, you can justify anything, really, can't you?
Well, yeah. And then there's the issue of, I don't know how to put this. If you take a look at someone like, I think the best case is Saitan, who basically seems to have this idea that truth is not that which is demonstrably compatible with reality. Truth is what the Bible says.
Well, did you see a Ray Comfort quote recently? That was it was on Twitter, which I follow, and I clicked, and it's Ray Comfort, Words of Comfort or whatever, and all it was it's quite an old argument that scientists have, or archaeologists, etc., have discovered. This is all debatable anyway.
Noah's Ark again.
Oh no, this is that the camel wasn't domesticated until yada yada yada, and therefore, Abraham couldn't have written one. But scientists are wrong, because in the Bible it says Abraham did ride one, and that's it. That's the entirety of his answer. Well, but the thing with Ray Comfort, of course, which is very telling, and is that he lost that $100 bet. Now, if somebody says to me they're a Christian, well, that's fine, But if I'm in a discussion with somebody who wants a back and forth on their religion, and I ask them the question, what did Judas do with his pieces of silver? and they can't answer me, I'd be gentle with them about it. But Ray Comfort claims that he found Jesus 40 years ago and has been spreading the gospel ever since, and he hasn't even read it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if I buy a new TV, if I can't get it working straight away, I read the manual. If somebody told me that there's this thin book, less than an inch thick, and my eternity depended on me understanding that book, I'd sure as hell made sure I read it.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
I'd
probably try to memorize it.
Yeah, you're aware of Ray Comfort in that bet. Have you seen that one?
I am familiar with it. I'm not sure what the bet was. It had something to do with knowing what something in the Bible, and he got it wrong.
Yeah, he took on a group of atheists, an atheist audience, at some convention, and somebody bet him. Somebody said to him that. I don't know whether he said. I think it basically said, "What did Judas do with the money?" And the guy and Ray Comfort said so and so, and he said, "Well, no, you're wrong." And Judas said, and Comfort said, "I'll bet you $100 I'm not." Well, I mean, do you know what Judas did with his pieces of silver?
I think there are. Isn't that one of the things that there are contradictory accounts of?
Exactly. It is.
I can't remember what there was something about he just threw them on the floor.
Well, one of them he went back to the temple and he threw them on the floor in front of the priests and said basically this is blood money and went out. And the priests say
that's the one I can remember.
Yeah, and they say yes, this is blood money. We can't put this in the coffers. So they went out and bought a field and it became called the Field of Blood. That's in one account. In the other account, he takes the money and buys a field himself, the potter's field, and then throws himself onto the ground and bursts asunder. Whereas in the first version, after he hangs himself, but separately. But yeah, there's no contradiction in those two. Even after he'd paid the $100 in front of a camera, he said, "Yeah, there's no contradiction."
Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. There you go. There are contradictions in the Bible. Shut up.
Well, and this is the problem with, if they were intellectually honest. Well, I don't know. Is it just dishonest? Or what's the difference between intellectual honesty and plain honesty? I don't know. But it would be interesting to debate people who had read the Bible. I mean, the thing, God planted a garden in the east. Well, in the east of what? But then if you read the translations, you understand that east also has the meaning of the sun coming up, because it comes up in the east, and therefore east can mean in ancient times. Now, if you read God planted a garden in ancient times, the whole creation story becomes a different story.
Yeah.
But you can't even have that debate with them because it's all literally true, and it's an absurdity.
Yeah, and then there's the issue of everywhere in the Bible when it speaks of the fruits of something, then that's a reference to the results of what came out of. But in the one case in the Garden of Eden, the fruits of the tree, that's a literal fruit all of a sudden.
That's right. Whereas actually, when it says the tree of good and evil, I mean, there's good evidence that that's probably a merism, which means it's a description that everyone would understand. The same as if I said to you, I hunted high and low, you wouldn't think I meant I went as high as I could to search and as low as I could to search. It meant I searched everywhere. Yeah. And in the same way as eating of the fruit of the tree of good and evil means all knowledge. You learn everything. And I think that's a perfect example of a trickster myth where the snake was probably trying to get them not to eat of the tree of life, which was the other offer, which it gets hidden in the Genesis story as we've got it. But there's quite a few old stories about, the rabbit in the moon being sent down to, I think it's amongst African tribes, to offer them eternal life. And he cons them into giving them fire instead or something like that. And which is why the rabbit has a hare lip, a split lip, and things like this.
I hadn't heard that one. And I used to have a rabbit.
Ah.
Okay, you mentioned your series about World War One, and I was actually really intrigued by that when I saw the first one of those, because that was like, what the hell is this, you know? And and World War One is one of those things that, yeah, sure, it's covered in history class in high school, and you know, but I just, what the hell was it all about? It just. I don't get it.
There's a bizarreness to it. I mean, I've read an awful lot. I've spent way too much on books about it since the first thing I got was actually...
You can't spend too much time doing something that you're interested in doing.
No, it's true. You know, compared to other things. Are you reading that book again? Yeah, I'm reading that book again. It was the Angel of Mons which intrigued me initially. Which my next video, when I get round to it, I've part scripted it, will finally be on that. But that's what piqued my interest, is that people were prepared to sign sworn affidavits that they had actually seen an angel in the sky above Mons. And before anybody says, well, that proves it, well, it doesn't really, because one of the people who signed one of those sworn affidavits wasn't even in France at the time. He was still in training. But you know, they believed it so much that they were prepared to, lie about the fact that they'd seen it because they wanted to believe it so much. But I mean, as I was reading up the story, and I was reading about, I mean, this is the wonderful thing about the internet, is a lot of the books on the First World War, it was overshadowed by the Second World War, but a lot of the books are now available free on archive.org and places like that. You can download them in PDF format.
Yeah, and that's so long ago. That things written around that time are no longer copyrighted, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. So yeah, you can download them and watch. Yeah, Google and Microsoft have scanned literally thousands upon thousands. But I know because I've got about 100,000 books on my computer. Which it's the trouble. I see something and I think, oh, I must have that, and then I do a quick search on the topics and download all the books. But because I've got a thing called DT Search, a little piece of software that actually indexes all the PDFs. And then, so I have the PDFs in subdirectories, not quite Dewey Decimal, but have them in subdirectories. And if I want to look up something on Judaism, I can do a search within all the books in Judaism for a single word. And it will bring up all the documents with that word in how many times that word appears in those documents, to give you a sort of idea of which ones are the most relevant to it. So it is very useful. I mean, you can't do that with hard, a bookcase full of hard books unless you've read each of them cover to cover.
And you remember them.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many times does something come up, even on YouTube, and you think, oh yeah, there's a clip I could use in my video, and you think, well, where the hell did I see it?
Yeah.
Did I even download it? And
right. You
then spend the next 3 hours searching for something fruitlessly, and that's 3 hours that you could have been working on a video. But no, as I was reading through, they say the first thing I came out with, as I was reading through, and I came up with this Cult of the Clitoris. And I thought that's got to be a video title. Yeah.
Well, you'll get views with a title like that, because if nothing else, people are going to wonder, what the hell is this?
That's right. When that drops into your lap, you have to use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole idea, it was, I've educated myself a lot, and that's most of my videos. As I say, I don't have a formal education in any of the areas, and so most of my videos, like the dating techniques, etc., is where I've tried to learn something myself. Radiometric dating. Everyone knows what carbon dating is. Everyone knows what carbon dating is. And so when a creationist, but I mean, when a creationist says, "Oh yeah, but so and so," you just go, "Oh yeah, but carbon dating." Well, you can't do that because you're making a presupposition. And I thought, well, I've got to educate myself on this. Yeah. So I went and read up, and I read quite deeply, as much as I could. And I thought, well, I want to make a less than 20-minute video which explains to people what radiometric dating is. If I can't do that, then I don't understand it. Which I think somebody said something is, if you can't explain something to a 10-year-old, you don't understand it.
So Einstein said something like that.
So, I thought, well, I'd do that. And then I went through with dendrochronology, ice core dating and such like. And so again, I'd then go, ARG is a great reference site, because you go there and you read the bullshit and you think it sounds wrong. What they're saying sounds like bullshit, but can you prove to somebody it's bullshit concisely and cogently, in 10 minutes? Their business with coral atolls and how fast they grow. And when you look into it, and again, it can be complex, because you mustn't, the hardest thing, and I try always to do it, is to strip away every preconception. So you're not asking the audience to take anything for granted. You're able to justify everything. Sometimes you'll have to say, look, there's a reference to this, and put it in the below bar, but you should always be trying to say, this is how I know this is true. I suppose one good sign is I very rarely have any creationists come on my videos and complain, so I must be doing something right, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of creationists either. I get one every now and then. Mostly I get New Age woo types or conspiracy theorists. Those are the ones who I've pissed off to no end,
well,
which is fun.
I think the woos are easier because they have such a woolly hold. I mean, creationists, they've got a fairly concise target, whereas the woo, I mean, you're just spreading this shit all over, aren't you? They're gonna come at you from all directions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Still no requests for you to read anything, which is weird. Come on, people, let's get some ideas here. What do we want to hear Baud read? Come on, people. Okay, the Bibble, yeah.
The Bibble.
I know. Hang on.
Little Rotica. I can guess what that is.
Here we go. I'm putting this in the Skype chat.
Okay. All right.
Knock yourself out. You can start at the top.
All right, so I'm just reading the Genesis. All right, I see. So it starts at Genesis 1. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the CATZ Bible. Bordered ceiling cat, makings earthen stuffs. Oh hi, into beginning, ceiling cat maded to skies, and to earths, but he did not eaten them. The earths no had shapes, and had a dark face, and ceiling cat rode invisible bike over to waters. This is actually better than the original.
Oh yeah.
At start no has light, and ceiling cat says, I can has light, and light was. And ceiling cat saw to light to see stuff, and splitted to light from dark. But that was okay, 'cause kittens can see in the dark, and not trips over nothing. And ceiling cat says, light day and dark no day, it were first. And ceiling cat said, I'm in your waters making a ceiling, but he no yet make a and he made it a hole into ceiling. And ceiling cat do disguise with waters down and waters up. It happen. And ceiling cat said, I can has to firmament, which is funny Bible name for ceiling. So was to tooth day. And ceiling cat got it all to waters in her base. And ceiling cat has dry places, 'cause kittens do not want get wet. And ceiling cat called no waters earth, and waters ocean is good. And Ceiling Cat said, "Do want grass?" So there was seeds and stuffs, and fruitses and vegetables, and a corn, it happened. And Ceiling Cat sawed that weeds is good, so let's there be weeds. And so the 3rd day, jazz hands. And Ceiling Cat said, "I can has lights in the skies for splitting day and no day." It happened. Lights everywhere, like Christmas. Seriously. And Ceiling Cat doeth 2 great lights, to most big for day, to other for no day. And Ceiling Cat screw 'em on skies with big nails and stuff to light the earths. And they rules day and night. Ceiling Cat sword is good. And so the 4th day, woot. And Ceiling Cat...
Come on, people. We need some donations for this one. This is hilarious.
And Ceiling Cat said, "I can has lights in the skies." Oh, hang on, been there. And Ceiling Cat said, "Waters bring me fishes and birds, so kittens can eat them." But Ceiling Cat no eated them. And Ceiling Cat made big fishes and sea monsters, which was like big cows, except they no mood, and other stuffs that moves. And Ceiling Cat's sword is good. And Ceiling Cat said, "Oh, I make babies, cats. And don't worry, I won't watch you sexy. I'm not that kind of kitten." And so the 5th day, Ceiling Cat take a wife to court. Court? I hope not. And Ceiling Cat said, "I can has more living stuff. Moose and creepy things and other animals. It happens so there." And Ceiling Cat doed more living stuff, moose and creepies and other animals, and did not eat them. And Ceiling Cat says, "Let's us do peeps like us, 'cause we is the cute. And let min bones her because they has can openers." God knows. So Ceiling Cat created the peeps that was like him. Can has can openers. He made them. Men and women was made it, but he did not eat them. And Ceiling Cat said them, "Oi, hey, make babies. K thanks." Oh, K thanks. There you go. Got it. And pone the waters. No waters and the firmament and every stuffs. And Ceiling Cat says, "Behold it, the earth's. I has it, and I has not eaten it. For every created stuffs there are the foods to the birdies, the creepies, and the moos. So there, it happened, is good." And Ceiling Cat said, "Behold, the good enough for release as version 0.8. Okay, thanks, bye."
Okay, that's brilliant. So if anyone didn't get that, that was Genesis chapter 1.
Lolcat, Genesis 1. Love it.
Okay, that was definitely worth money. Come on, people.
I know, I might replace my 22-volume series with that one. That's much more interesting.
Yeah.
Saying which, on a serious note, I've actually, I think I'm working on volume 22 at the moment, or video 22, just up to where Jacob has left Laban and returning back to meet up with Esau, and it's quite interesting. I think that to me, it's very obvious there's bits missing, because I don't know if you've read it, how familiar you are with it, but
I'm pretty familiar with that part. I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about, but I'll probably recognize it.
Okay, well, before he leaves Laban, the next thing he does is he sends out messengers to go up to Esau and say, "I'm on my way back." And the messengers.
Hang on, I just need to see if Esau wasn't this the guy who
The hairy man.
Yeah, the hairy guy. The other guy dressed in a fur to fool.
That's right. Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob was dressed up in his fur. So Jacob.
Right. Laban. Who was that?
Right.
Because I recognize the name, but
okay. So you got Isaac, who Abraham killed, but then came back to life, and he has Esau as the eldest, and Jacob next. Yeah. And Jacob steals Esau's birthright.
Yeah, that's the part where he tricks his father. Yeah.
So his mum sends him off to the country to escape Esau, and he goes off to his mother's brothers, which is Laban, and falls absolutely madly in love with Rebecca. Is it
Rebecca? Yeah. Okay, now I'm with you.
Falls so madly in love with her that when Laban tricks him with the elder sister, he bangs away at her all night and doesn't notice that he's got the wrong girl. Then he marries them both and has 2 concubines as well. That's just how in love he is with Rebecca. So, and after he's had about 13 kids, he leaves. Well, he's on his way back, and he sort of crosses over the Jordan, which is, I don't know whether that's more as figurative as it is real. And he sends off messengers back to Esau, because apparently he's been away 20 years and he doesn't know what Esau thinks. And his messengers come back and say, Esau's on his way to meet you with 400 men, which is a bit worrying, really, you'd think. Mm-hmm. So, but when he crosses over, he's met by angels, and this is taken to be a host of angels, not just one. And he names the place, he gives this place a name, which means 2 camps. And if you read the apologists' reading of it, they say it's 2 camps because it's him and the angels. But immediately after, when the messengers come back, he then sends loads of gifts off ahead of herds of animals to Esau. He sends his family across the river, and then he's left on his own, and he prays to God, saying, I'm really worried and everything. And you think, well, that's a bit weird. If he's got this army of angels here, why would he be worried? And it's God who told him, he'd know God was with him.
Maybe the other side has iron chariots, I don't know.
But he also says he'd split his family into 2 camps. Well, hang on, that's the 2 camps. Well, but the key thing is, if you go forward from Jacob, you go through Leah's line and you get Judah. And if you go through Rebecca's line, you get Joseph. Now, Joseph is Israel, and Judah is Judah, when the kingdoms split.
Yeah. When
they split to the north and south kingdom. And so I think this whole story is presaging that split later on.
Sounds like it.
But again, I imagine when they meshed, because they obviously had 2 histories. They had the Judean history and the Israeli history, and they had to mesh those back together at some time. And I think that bit of the 2 camps disappeared slightly, but anyway, yeah, it is fascinating reading. But again, it'd be lovely to speak to a believer about that, but they won't, because it's what it is, and they were angels, and you can't get beyond that.
That's the problem. They're not really interested in what the real history of it would be.
Yeah.
Okay, people. You want to hear Genesis chapter 2? I suggest you start donating.
That's right.
Come on.
It can't be hard to get up to $2,100.
No. Come on.
I'll tell you what, chapter 3 is actually great. Genesis chapter 3 is great. I mean, I think Genesis chapter 3 is a terrible indictment of God. Take it as a piece of fiction if you want, but read Genesis chapter 3, and one of the things, if you remember, reason sin entered the world, and the reason all death entered the world and all the rest of it is because of our sin. Mm-hmm. And the bad things all happen because of our sin. Well, until you read Genesis chapter 3, where after they're caught canoodling with the snake, God says to a woman, your births will be, pain in birth will be multiplied. Well, that isn't something, God must have done something. That was an action by God. That's not. That's a punishment for eternity for every woman who ever lives. That's not, it happened because you sinned. It happened because I decided. And
well, that's not what an apologist would say. He would say that it's kind of like, I'm holding a gun to your head. Give me your money or I'll shoot.
Yeah.
You chose not to give me the money, so obviously you got shot, and of course that's your fault.
That's right. That's your fault.
So, yeah. According to apologist, God can do no wrong because whatever he does, by definition, is right. So,
that's right. And even the thorns and thistles, by their definition, only God can create. So he must have created the thorns and thistles deliberately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We're still not getting any donations. Come on, people.
No, they didn't like my reading, obviously.
No, they didn't. Well, let's give them chapter 2 as well, I think.
All right, let's have a look at chapter 2.
Donate for chapter 3. Or pick a verse. I think it's got most of the most of the Old Testament.
Oh,
I think,
like
actually.
Genesis 3. Yeah, I do like this. Looks good. Sneaky snake is sneaky. The snake said to the girl, "No eat fruit." Ceiling cat says, "Or you die," Ceiling cat says. And the girl said, "We can has fruit, but we no can has fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden." Ceiling cat says, "If you touch it or nom it, you die, so paws off." The snake lolled and said, "You won't die from fruit. Seriously." Ceiling cat just said that because the fruit will make you smart. You guys would be ceiling cats because you would has morals. The girl saw the fruit had a flavour and it looked yummy. It would give her some morals too, so she nom-nommed the fruit. She gave some to the boy and he nom-nommed the fruit too. Then they got morals, so it didn't take long to figure out they was naked. Boy and girl made it something out of leaves to keep the privates private. When they heard Ceiling Cat chasing butterflies in the garden, they jumped in a bush to play hide and seek. Except they hoped Ceiling Cat would forget about them, the seek part. He didn't. Ceiling Cat said, "Boy, boy, boy." Boy said, "Oh, hi. I heard you over there, but I afraid. But I freaked out because I was naked, so I hid in the bush." Ceiling Cat said, "Wait a minute. How'd you find out? You didn't nom them brand. You didn't nom them brand. Oh, can't. You didn't nom them banned fruit, did you?" Boy said, "Remember the girl you made for me? I only eated the fruit because she gave it to me." Ceiling Cat said to the girl, "You did what?" Girl said, "The snake played dirty trick on me and I eated the fruit. It tasted good, but that not point." Ceiling Cat said to the snake, "'Cause you did this, you cursed above all the moo cows and farm animals. You gonna move on your belly forever, 'cause I gonna take your legs and give 'em to the Chinese to eat. You're gonna have to eat dirt forever. I'm gonna make girls afraid of snakes, and the macho boys will squish you on the head to impress 'em, and you will nom their foot. Seriously." Ceiling Cat said to the girl, "You're going to have some serious hurts when you give births to your kittens. And from now on, your hubs is going to rule over you, and you have to do what he says." Ceiling Cat says to the boy, "'Cause you listen to the girl instead of me, The ground is cursed, and you'll be working your butts off your whole life. And making cheeseburgers will be very hard now. You'll have to get rid of weeds to grow stuffs, and you'll have to eat the farm plants. You're going to have to sweat like crazy if you want cheeseburger. And it'll be like that until you die and turn back into dirt, because that's where you came from anyway. The boy named his girl Eve because she was the mother of all people, and also because if he named her Bertha, he would have been lolled at. It was getting really awkward, so Ceiling Cat made some clothes for them. And Ceiling Cat said, look, they is like us, because they has morals. Let's do something so they won't take the cheeseburgers and the tree of happy, because then they would live forever. That would be bad. So Ceiling Cat kicked the boy out of the garden to be a farmer. And it sticked, and it stinked, because there was no farm worker union yet. When they was out, Ceiling Cat put some bird cats and a really sharp butt mace at the welcome sign, so no kittens would get to the tree of happy and nom the cheeseburgers ever.
Oh man, that is.
It does actually make much more sense when you read it like that.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 10 minutes to go, so
That's gone really quick.
Yeah. Come on, people.
Yeah, we did really well, and now we're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Come on, give me something to read, people. What's my next video? Yeah, good question. I'm working on the Angel of Mons. I'm working on, well, I've got loads in the pipeline, but it's the way I actually do them quite organically, because I don't like to push them. I don't like to force a video. Now and again, one will come into my head, and I'll just knock it out really quickly, which is quite frustrating sometimes, because if I do, I mean, this World War I series has been going for about a year now, reading. I've been reading a very good book called Religion and the End of Magic, which is a paperback, but I don't know where is it? I'm not sure where it is. It's over 1,000 pages, and it's actually a very detailed look at religion and magic in the 16th and 17th centuries in England.
Cool.
And it comes out, I mean, now and again, I'm making copious notes, and I don't know, there's 3 or 4 videos in there probably. But it's come up with some interesting things. I mean, one interesting thing is obviously the devil. Where did the devil come from?
Yeah.
And it's a throwaway remark in the book, but as I was thinking about it, I think it actually makes sense, because I don't know if everybody knows, but that Satan doesn't actually appear in the first 12 books of the Bible.
Right.
I think it's 2nd Chronicles that he first appears, and even then he's just an adversary. Yeah. And the Christian devil, any concept of that doesn't appear until the sort of, what do they call it? About 200 years before Christ, really. And the idea in the book is that the reason the devil was invented is because there were no other gods. Because as soon as the Hebrews become monotheistic, they had no gods to blame for the bad things, so they had to invent the devil. Yeah. Because, well, I mean, as we know, it's I can't remember. I think there's well over a dozen other gods in the Bible, and so they could always blame those gods.
Baal and
yeah, but I mean, there is a whole list of them. I think you could probably do an A to Z of gods in the Bible. Yeah. And yeah, you could always blame those gods. You could say the reason you're being bad is because you're following the wrong god. But and it's interesting, when the kingdom split, Judah. I mean, if the kingdoms ever split, because there's not much evidence that there ever was a united kingdom of Israel. before Judah and Israel existed, and Judah seems to be very much polytheistic. They had the Canaanite gods, and they had Baal and El and the rest of it. Whereas it would appear that Israel, fairly early on, went to Jehovah, and it may have been that it was them going to Jehovah where they would, if you no longer recognise that any other gods exist, what do you do about your idea of, sky quotes, evil? It has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting idea that they tried to sort of blame that on humans in the end. I mean, that's kind of weird. I mean, the idea that we would have that power, so they had to throw in some kind of supernatural explanation. Well, Satan tricked us.
Well, yeah,
and because, I mean, how could we have the power to create evil, as it were?
And they get into a theological minefield when they start talking about witches and sorcery and such like, because they then get, well, if you turn somebody into a frog, well, can you turn somebody into a frog? Can the devil give you that power? Can the devil even do it? Or can only God do it? So is God doing it to tempt you? And they get into this whole thing in their head because they've then got to work out these arbitrary rules.
Will you weigh more than a duck?
Exactly.
That's another important question.
Yeah. Well, it was but there's lots of confusion as well about there's a thing in Africa where it's like an old story, but it's a moral story, and but they say in this book it happens in 21st century Africa that these people still tell this story, and it might make not much sense to us, but if you went back to the 16th or 17th century to a village in England, people would understand the moral straight away. And the story is this guy goes to it's in Africa, and he goes to a new village, moves into a new village. That night, when the village goes to sleep, he gets out an old goat skin, hangs it up in his house, and beats it with a stick. And while he's beating it with his stick, his wife is crying out. And they carry on like this for 15 minutes. And if no one comes, the next morning they pack up and move to another village. The idea behind it is that nobody's taking any notice about what's happening in their house. And they're saying that the 16th, 17th century, everybody was a nosy Parker. Everybody knew what went on in everybody's house. And if, let's say somebody was having an affair, then they would make like guys out of these people and parade them up and down the streets in hurdles, taking the mickey out of them, shaming people into changing their behaviour continually. And this is another thing I like about reading the history books, is continually trying to get into the mental.
Right.
To think
it's
like
not just about, who was king when. It was more about, how did people live? What did people think like, and all that stuff.
Mm. Because you can't judge other people based on our morals, which is another. You can't say that what they did was wrong any more than, because people say, oh, no, they can. I said, well, take my very simple moral hypothetical, and that is that I can quite easily foresee that if the human race develops and survives, that 1,000 years from now, educated humans will think the idea of raising animals for meat is absolutely disgusting. How can you keep animals purely to eat? Well, so are we morally wrong for doing that?
According to them, yes.
Yeah,
that's the point.
You can't apply
morality evolves.
Exactly. Morality is the meme, isn't it? That's There's genetics, but there's memetics as well, and that's why society has evolved the way it has.
Right. Well, we're gonna have to wrap this hour up.
Mm.
It's been awesome having you read from the Lolcat Bible. I hope you keep doing that, because that was brilliant. Coming up next is Daryl Ray. Can't I know who he is, but I can't remember what he. Oh, recovering from religion, I think it was. Something like that. He's been on the show. I'm bad. There. Keep the donations coming.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a great show. I've been in and out all day, and it's been absolutely great.
Yeah, it's been great having you. Well, I won't be on until sometime tomorrow, my time. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to try to catch a few hours of sleep. See ya. Begin with. You do videos about quite a wide variety of topics, it seems, but they're clearly related. Most of them, anyway. Religion, for one.
Yeah, I mean, I started off commenting on other people's videos, and you'd quite often get a response of, "If you're so smart, why don't you make a video?"
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why not? And I, started off simply. I don't have a formal education. I admire people who do. I very late in life took the vesves test, which shows that I have an issue with short-term memory, which is like, and to say attention deficit is wrong. It's a great proportion of the population does, but it is an attention span issue, which probably affected me early on when I was at school. But I am intelligent, and but I prefer this moth approach that I have now, where I can flit from subject to subject. I don't have to sit down and dedicate myself through.
My fiance is always trying to sleep. She's a narcoleptic. No, she just works different hours than I do. It's that simple. She has a job that requires her to sometimes work nights and sometimes work early morning, even during the weekends, and it's a bit annoying. There you go. Now I'm not gonna devote this hour to that stuff. Before we begin, though, talking to Baud2Bits, I want to go over the rules regarding the Idiot of the Year thing that there was some talk about in the chat room. Here's the thing. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what it's about. Every year we make fun of someone. It's that simple. And you can scroll down and find a link to a poll where a couple of people have been nominated. Let's see who they were. Deepak Chopra, Mike Adams, Ken Ham, and the Pope are the ones who are officially nominated. So you can vote for those for free, or you can do the not so proper democracy thing and simply donate and say who you're voting for, because in that case, first of all, you can vote for anyone, and second, each dollar donated counts as one vote. So vote for Jordan. Okay? Good. Everyone, do that. Now, this hour, there's this other thing here where you donate $10 and Baud will read something suitably bad. You'll have to nominate something.
Anything you nominate, and I'll read it out for a $10 donation.
Yeah. That voice reading something extremely stupid. That would be awesome to hear. Okay. So, what were we going to talk about now? Right. I was going to talk to you a little bit about your videos on YouTube.
Studies. So I pick up anything that interests me, anything that piques my interest, either watching other videos or reading. I'm a voracious reader. And I'm always thinking about how, could I make a video on that? Could I fit that into a video? Videos that are not just about the anti-creationists, which is low-hanging fruit, but more about trying to get people to think about how they think the way they think, why we believe. And and try and get across the message that we're all deluded. From the moment we wake up in the morning, we spend the entire day deluding ourselves. You know, we call it rationalization. But if we didn't do it, we'd go insane.
Right.
Although there's a whole other question about what is sanity, because I don't think there's any evolutionary prerogative or requisite to be sane. You know, all we need to do.
That's right. That's actually an interesting thing where what's his face? I believe it's Alvin Plantinga or someone like that. Some Christian. Are we on? Let's see if people can hear me. I hope people can hear me. Oh, cool. That's a YOU apostrophe RE. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm in hate mail reading mode. Okay, first of all, I have to explain that I cannot be particularly loud because my fiance is on the other side of a very thin wall trying to sleep. She's working tomorrow morning, so I apologize. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm trying to sit very close to the mic instead. With me this hour is, as you can see, Baud2Bits. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, sorry, I did try to have a cam, but I had a problem with my cam, so I had to go back to my avatar.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. That's happened to me too.
It is just as well, really, because I always said I wasn't going to play on my good looks and youthful complexion, so...
Excuse me, Marai Ziller asks